Good morning, good morning. How's everyone doing today? I said, how's everyone doing today? Thank you for being here at the Women's March 2018. I am MC Princess Amber.
And I am the MC Fernanda. So welcome, thank you for coming. Was that a beautiful performance or what? Yeah. Let's show some love. Woo!
Okay, before we get started, I'm gonna let you guys know, y'all know, I have a Samsung phone, so I cannot take pictures. So I need everyone's help. Please like our Facebook page at WomensMarchMontereyBay, and please share all my wonderful pictures with me. And everyone else too, but me too, okay? Thank you.
Yeah, so make sure to get those selfies and pictures going, videos, all the good stuff. Again, if you are awake, say woohoo! Are you awake? Are you awake? Okay, now I believe you. Woohoo! All right, so again, let's give a big shout out to our performers. Woo! So Tycho has been doing this since 1999, and we can tell why, right? They did such an amazing job, and so they focus on the cultivation of energy, self-awareness, and social and personal harmony. So thank you again for doing that. I felt the energy. I was a little asleep. I was falling asleep, and then I heard the music, and my heart started pumping, and I felt connected to the earth. So thank you for that.
Yes, yes.
All right, so if we can get some music going, that would be great. So, is everyone excited for the march today? Did we wake up early? Woo! How many of us had coffee this morning? Okay, how many of us had water? You will need water throughout the day, so make sure you do that. Drink some water, and just some housekeeping rules or info. Please make sure to utilize the restrooms on our right. We also have, if you have not yet registered for voting, make sure to do that. We have that also on the right.
And then, we do have children here because we are a women's march and we are here to embrace women and fight for equality and so much more. We do have a station for children. Yes, we have a station for children. Right over there. It's called La Leche. So bring your children over there. We have snacks over there. They are a non-profit. They are alone right now. Snacks, toys, and everything. So please go ahead and take your children over there and just welcome everyone. Who was here last year? Raise your hand if you're here last year. Yes! Thank you. Okay, so we're going to start with
our first guest speaker.
So we're going to start with Antoinette Anderson. Antoinette is a native Californian, originally from Los Angeles, also a CSUMB alumni. She practices creating social change through different mediums of art as a way to engage different social justice issues. Antoinette believes that there is more than one way to advocate for change. You just have to figure out which avenue works best for you. I personally love Antoinette because she is so helpful. Every time I'm on campus, she's always there, smiling. And I'm so glad she's here today. So please give a heart-welcoming clap for Antoinette Anderson.
Woo! Thank you.
Fight the power. Fight the power. The power. Fight the power. Fight the power. Fight the power. We got to fight the power that beats. As the rhythms designed to bounce with calcium that the rhyme designed to fill your mind up that you realize.
Good morning. Good morning. All right, so I want to thank you to our beautiful MCs for introducing me. So again, my name is Antoinette Anderson. So last week I was asked a really important question. Why am I marching? Something I hadn't thought much about. I didn't think I needed to. But how could I have been so naive? I should have already been thinking about that question exactly. Why am I marching? I'm marching not because it is my duty as a woman, but because it is necessary. It is necessary that women are guaranteed to feel safe, respected, and equal to their male counterparts all the time. It is necessary that women get to start having a seat at the decision-making table. Not just today, tomorrow, or next week, next year, next decade, but today, now, forever. And not because of diversity and inclusion initiatives, but because we too are qualified individuals who deserve to be at the table making decisions. Making decisions about tax reform, nuclear war, and most importantly, our reproductive systems. I know you've probably already heard this today, and you'll continue to hear it throughout the day. But one of the ways we can do this is by registering to vote. Registering to vote and then exercising our right to vote are a few ways that we can move forward in the right direction towards equality. In the time of Me Too, and by the way, Me Too, women are finally feeling safe enough to step forward because their voices are finally being heard. But did you hear that? Finally being heard. That is ridiculous. We should have always been and should always be heard. Our voices and opinions should always be valid. They should always matter. Not because we are women, but because we are humans. And all humans are individuals who have valid feelings, experiences, and deserve to be heard. So start listening and start moving forward. I'm marching not to commit mutiny and overthrow the patriarchy, or maybe I am. But the goal is to create a system that works in favor of all humans, regardless of their biological sex identities or racial and ethnic backgrounds. It is 2018. We live in a time of technology and information. So I will no longer tolerate or entertain conversations with people who refuse to understand why Black Lives Matter and why women should have equal pay to their male counterparts. This is about equality and equity. Now, speaking to the men in the audience, I call on to you to stand with us. And for those of you who already are, to continue standing with us, to continue marching with us, to raise your sons to control their sexual urges and not our daughters to filter what they decide to wear on any given day. I command you to raise your sons, daughters, and gender non-conforming children right. So neither daughters, sons, or gender non-conforming children will be writing on future social media platforms, Me Too. Sexual misconduct can go all ways, because even just one Me Too is too many. So why am I marching today, you ask? I am marching because I stand for a feminist future. Because I stand for equality, safety, respect. Because I stand for women to also have positions of power. Because I am a woman, and better yet, I am a woman of color. My experience is a unique one. But don't get it twisted, because Black is beautiful, honey. But most importantly, I march for all women who are survivors of Me Too's and to create a better future for our children, both born and unborn. Because if I do nothing today, I can't expect a better future for them. So I encourage you all, think about why you are marching today and why you'll continue to march in the future. Because together, we rise. Yes, we can. Viva la vulva! Thank you.
All right, was that beautiful or what? Woo, I love the energy this morning. Again, thank you for joining us today, and thank you. That was beautiful. I feel empowered, and I am super excited for today.
Thank you, Antoinette, again. You are so amazing. So we're going to talk about voting a little bit. So, fun fact, according to 2016 census data, 72% of women in the U.S. registered to vote. However, only 63 voted. Raise your hand if you vote.
Woo, I love those hands.
I don't see everyone's hand up. So let's talk about that a little bit in more detail. To the right of us, there are voting tables where you can register to vote and know more information. People are also walking out in the crowd with our fancy shirts on, so please talk to them as well. They are so wonderful and full of information.
And also, if you cannot vote, it's okay. Make sure that you get those that can vote, that whether you're the friends, family members, or someone you know, and get them to vote. Having the privilege to vote, it's a big privilege, and not everyone has it, and it's okay. So make sure you stand up, you get people voting, and if you can vote, you better register. So, really quick, I'm going to go through a list of the requirements to register to vote. Please pay attention. If you already know, it's a good thing to remember, and that way you can share the list. So you must be 18 years at the time of the election. Either have either a driver's license, ID card, or the last 4 digits of your social security number. You must register 15 days. Let's remember that. 15 days before the election in order to vote. So how many days? 15 days! Ooh, I feel like you're actually paying attention. I love that. So, if you register less than 15 days before an election, you may be able to vote conditionally. That means register by May 21st. So, I'm going to say that 3 more times. May 21st, May 21st, May 21st. So, you have no excuse. Make sure you go and get registered. So, if you committed a felony, but you cleared probation, you can vote again. So that's something a lot of people are not aware of. Let's make sure we always keep in mind, we let those that we know that have gone through those circumstances to know and have them registered to vote. If you haven't voted in several election cycles, you may have been taken off the registration list and will need to re-register. So make sure that you are registered. If you're not sure, make sure you look into it, okay? So how many of us are going to be voting? Woo! So you're going to vote? Look to your person next to you, either left or right, and tell them, I will vote.
I will vote.
And I want to hear everybody screaming at 3, I will vote. 1, 2, 3, I will vote. I will vote. So all of you, just compromise yourself to do that. So I want to make sure that the numbers look higher than ever, that you're getting every woman, every man that you know to vote. It's important that we do that.
Correct. Also, I am a CSUMB student. I do have friends in my classes and on campus. Y'all better vote too, okay? We can vote. We definitely can, and we definitely should.
Okay. So, really quick, how many of us are awake today? Woo! All right, we're going to do a quick way to make sure that we're all awake, because in a few minutes I'm going to be having everyone screaming and chanting. So, okay, not that soon. We'll do it a little bit later, but we'll start the way over here. So, everybody, if you do not, well, for everyone that does not know the way, you basically, so we'll start over there. If it's okay, and I'm actually going to go this way. Hopefully the mic reaches. All right, actually we can start the way. Okay, 1, 2. All right. I know we can do a little better than that. And we're going to say, woman rock, as we do the wave, right? Woman rock. 1, 2, 3. Wow, I love it. Did you feel the energy? Just me. Woo! Because we do rock.
So, few more fun facts. May 7th, expect votes to be out by mail. May 21st is the last day to register to vote. June 5th, 2018, let's see each other at the ballot box. Fabulous, of course, because I will be in heels, and I hope to see you all there. Okay, before we go on, we want to do one more chant. When I say our vote, you say is our voice, okay? So when I say our vote, you say is our voice, okay? 1, 2, 3, our vote.
Is our voice.
I can't hear you. Come on, wake up. When I say our vote, you say
Is our voice.
That's beautiful. That is so beautiful. I'm so glad you are
today. And actually, I love this so much. Let's do it one more time, but say it like you mean it. 1, 2, 3. Our vote is our voice. Yes. Woo. I love that. All right. So now we have another great, amazing speaker. I know you all love listening to us. We want to make sure you want to hear us for the next couple hours. So we're going to introduce an amazing individual who has actually been a clinical social worker for 40 years. Did you hear that? 40 years. That means she's been serving our young people, our people in general, women, men, everyone. So anyways, we're talking about career goals. Goals. I agree. I'm like, woo, I hope one day I can say that. Yes. So anyway, woo. So let's give a big round of applause. Woo! All right, so really quick, please give me a big round of applause and show some love for this amazing woman that has so much love for our community that she's here to share some of her thoughts, her knowledge, and her feelings, because all of us have, every mind is a different world, and you're going to get to see this amazing world, so you better grab something from it, okay? So, Lynne, please welcome to the stage. We're so lucky to have you, girl. And she's a dancer.
Dixon, and I want to thank the Women's March Committee for inviting me to speak today, and I also want to thank all of you for coming out this morning to stand up and show our power as women and to lead this country and our community to the values of respect, safety, and equality for women. As a social worker for more than 40 years, I have focused my professional life on following the principles stated in the National Association of Social Workers Code of Ethics. These principles include respecting the inherent dignity and worth of all persons, helping people in need, recognizing the importance of human relationships, and challenging social injustice. These principles are not just for a professional organization, but are principles that I try to live in my personal life, have taught my children, and plan to teach my grandchildren. I believe these principles are what brought you here today. We all come from different backgrounds, ethnicities, socioeconomic status, and life experiences. However, today we are marching together because we know that there is power in numbers. We know that as women we are powerful together, and it will take all of us standing together to secure our safety, guarantee our respect, and ensure our equality. This past year, I've witnessed these principles get attacked, maligned, ignored, and even called fake by the president and his people in the White House, by our congressmen and senators, and even by our fellow Americans. So today, I come to march and send a message to those rich, straight, white men back in Washington that they are not in charge and we will not be silenced. So I'm marching today because I believe in the women's right to choose and want this right that I fought for back in my college days to still exist for my granddaughters. I'm marching today because I'm a mother of 2 African American young men, and I'm tired of seeing my black boys and men get killed by the police and no one is held accountable. I'm marching today because I don't want my young Latina sisters to be scared that their parents or siblings are going to be deported and they will have to be separated from them. I'm marching today because every girl and woman deserves deserve to be safe from sexual assault and sexual harassment, no matter how they look, no matter what they wear, or the color of their skin. I'm marching today because my parents marched against segregation and for the right to vote. And I don't want the progress of the past 50 years for people of color and women to be dismantled by racist and sexist politicians in Washington or any of the state houses in this country. I'm marching today because we have to speak truth to power and demand the equality and respect that we deserve. Last January, I had to miss this march because I was back in Virginia taking care of my 94-year-old father who was in his last days of life. I was blessed to have a father and mother who told me that I could do anything and to never let my gender or the color of my skin keep me from pursuing what I wanted and thought was right. So last January, Dad and I watched the Women's March on TV back in Virginia, and as we watched, we talked about Trump and the changes that were going to come. I told him I was very worried and a little scared. And he told me, this man of 94 who's been through depression, Jim Crow, schooling, and now seen a black president, he said, "Lynn, I've seen all of this before. We have been through this before. There has always been people like Trump and his people. Progress is made, and then they try to take it away. So you fight, and then you sometimes have to fight again. But remember, you never get up, you never give up, and you keep moving forward." So I am here today marching with you in solidarity because it's time to fight again and to keep moving forward. My father also had a poem that he loved, that he found when he was in graduate school, veterinary school, and he gave it to me and to his grandchildren when they graduated from high school. I thought of it when I was preparing my speech for today, and I'd like to share just a part of it with you. The poem is called "Don't Quit." The last part of the poem reads, "Don't give up through the pace, though the pace seems slow, you may succeed with another blow. Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint of the clouds of doubt. And you never can tell just how close you are. It may be near when it seems so far. So stick to the fight when your hardest hit. It's when things seems worst that you must not quit." So in closing, I have a few requests of all of us as we move forward as empowered women and empowered humans. Echoing, vote, vote, vote! In November! Put your energies into getting other people to vote and register. Our vote is our power and we must use it. Second one, stay involved. After today, commit to doing something that works towards ensuring respect, safety, and equality for women. Third, be an ally. Be an ally. Speak up when a sexist comment or racial slur or homophobic remark is made and interrupt that person's thinking and behavior. Being silent gives people the message that what they are thinking and doing is okay. And finally, don't quit. Stay strong, women of Monterey Bay. Thank
you. Wow. Did I tell you she was great or what? Almost had us cry. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Miss Lynne White Dixon, we love you.
And actually, we love everyone here because you made it and because we all matter, right? Yes? Woo! Yes. And I love all the flags that were on seeing the poster. So if you brought something really quick, pick it up, be proud. Woo! And if you didn't, it's okay. Put your hands in the air and shake it. Woo!
Let's just remember, fun fact, women only had the right to vote less than 100 years. Let's keep that in mind. Women just It's only been less than 100 years. So let's keep that momentum going. Let's keep changing, keep being proactive.
And let's vote, because it's a privilege and it's something that we need to make sure that we're utilizing. All right, so our next guest speaker is another great individual in our community. She is a nurse advocate. It has been so for over a decade. She's actually a nursing instructor at Cabrillo College. Woo, woo, woo. And she basically fights for healthcare justice for all Californians. And I think we've all at some point needed some healthcare, so let's give her a big round of applause. Woo! Jennifer! Go Jennifer!
So I said quietly, agreed politely.
Adjust the mic for someone of my height. All right. So my name is Jennifer Holt. I'm a registered nurse, and I work in the neonatal intensive care unit, the NICU, with small and fragile babies. Over the past 12 years, I've had the privilege of attending over 1,000 births. The strength and resilience I've witnessed as women bring new life into the community continues to humble me. With that comes a profound sense of responsibility, a mandate to defend the promise of these new lives to the best of my ability. It is not enough for us to fight against the elimination of limited health care benefits that we may or may not have. We have an opportunity as a community, as California, as the United States of America, to declare that health care is as much an unalienable right as life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But that movement must come from us. Frederick Douglass said in his 1857 West India Emancipation speech that power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. We cannot continue a system that rations health care based on one's ability to pay. And those in power will not alter this unjust system without being held accountable at the ballot box and without our continued vigilance in recognizing and calling out the undue influence of a for-profit healthcare system. In my job, I have seen too many times how a broken healthcare system affects our community. I've spoken with mothers who are forced to choose between healthier food options for their families and the medicines needed to maintain their own health. I've had a friend driven to homelessness following medical bankruptcy when he had a stroke in his 50s. In an America that is great, in a country as affluent as ours, the well-being of our bank account should never trump the well-being of our bodies. As a NICU nurse, a dreaded phrase to hear when I'm going to a delivery is late or no prenatal care. The greatest tools at our disposal to help women and their babies is prenatal care and regular access to healthcare providers. These mothers want to receive the care that will ensure the health and well-being of their children. Their health and the health of their babies is very important to them. But they are having to make difficult choices in how to manage their resources. A mother's zip code or tax bracket should never determine the care their baby receives. When we consider healthcare as a social safety net, we must also recognize that there are significant gaps in that net. There is a solution, one that works for every other industrialized nation in the world. We could guarantee healthcare to everyone. Through state legislation like SB 562, the Healthy California Act, or nationally through S 1804, the Medicare for All Act. And let me be clear, when I say health care, I do not mean access to purchasing insurance with premiums and deductibles so prohibitive that using it is nearly impossible. I mean access to real, honest health care, where the decisions about what treatments you need are a conversation between you and your provider, not an automatic denial from an insurance company. Where your access to healthcare is not tied to your job or who you live with. How many of you here today know someone that wanted to take a part-time position so that they could spend more time with their children, but they were tied to their job because of the benefits it provided? How many people are tied to careers they do not love just out of survival? And I am not exaggerating. There are people who stay in jobs they can barely tolerate because the health care they have through their employer means the difference between life and death for themselves or a loved one. And we've all seen this happen with people in unhealthy or abusive relationships as well. This is an unsustainable and untenable position to be in. Healthcare for all is another avenue to ending the terrible cycle of abuse that is faced by far too many in our community. But these avenues get closed off by misleading conversations about the costs. How many of you have heard that healthcare for all is at a cost so high that it would destroy our economy and impoverish our state? There was a number floating around that SB 562, the state bill, would cost $400 billion to cover everyone in California. But that is under our current, highly inefficient system, of which we're already paying about 70% of with public funds. A single-payer system standardizes pricing, significantly reduces administrative overhead costs, and allows for more patient-centered negotiations. The cost of a broken arm should not be determined by your zip code. The price of an X-ray should not be inflated by the exorbitant salaries of administrative officials that couldn't tell you what side was up on that X-ray. SB 562 guarantees access for all residents of California, regardless of immigration status, income, or political beliefs. Whether our state is red, blue, green, or purple, we are all equal in our need for health care. And we must recognize what we are already paying, not just in dollars and cents, but in the lost possibilities and futures that are being squandered by our current lack of affordable health care. How many innovators are being ground down by this unjust allocation of health care? What artistic endeavors will never be undertaken? What pathways to the future will close without ever having been realized? Access to health care, separate from our jobs or relationship status, allows us all to pursue the greater possibilities in our lives. I invite you all to consider that we, you, me, all of us, are responsible for this system. Not that we're to blame. That is a very different conversation. But responsible. That we have ownership and therefore the power to change it. Think about that for a moment. We have the power. We can change our current system of health care or any form of injustice. Together we rise when we make our voices heard at the ballot box, at City Hall, in Sacramento, and throughout our nation, all the way to the White House. As Frederick Douglass said in that same speech, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. We are here to demonstrate that we are willing to take on the causes of justice and equality. So let us not simply stand against hatred, bigotry, and injustice, though we must do that. But this is our chance to rise, to march towards love, compassion, and freedom. Can we do that together? Can we push through the struggle against an unequal, unequitable, and unaffordable healthcare system to deliver affordable healthcare that guarantees the safety, equality, and respect to all those that use it? I know we can. We are in this together, so let us march together. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, we are together.
Let's give another round of applause to Miss Jennifer Holmes. Thank you so much. Healthcare for all.
Hello to everyone that has not met me and Amber. My name is Fernanda Ocaña and I am glad to be your MC today.
My name is Amber Ward, but please call me Princess Amber.
Oh, I love these people. Okay. If I had anything to do like a t-shirt to that would.
So, if everyone's awake, we're going to do a chant because you are all awesome and phenomenal women. So, on two, when I say she is, you say worthy, okay? So when I say you say worthy. Hey, people are awake. Awesome. Okay. 1, 2, 3. When I say she is, you say worthy. She is worthy. She is worthy. She is worthy. She is worthy. Woo! I believe it when I hear it. Let's do it one more time, girl. Yes. When I say she is, you say worthy. She is worthy. She is worthy. Thank you. So my mom doesn't believe I'm at the Women's March that I'm the MC. So you're all on my Instagram. You have to say hi, Mom. Woo! Look, Mom, I'm doing something productive.
Aren't we all? All right, I love the energy.
Okay, we just want a few reminders. Please make sure that if you have to use the restrooms, they are on the right side of this fence. That is on the right side of this fence. As well as please leave the chairs open for people who are
in need of a seat. So just kind of like it
wise and wisdom. Please leave the seats open for the wise and wisdom. Thank you.
And with that, don't forget to register to vote. We have people with clipboards walking around. Make sure you register, or you can do it another day. It's fine. Just don't forget to do so.
Yes.
And then really quick, we want to give a shout out to some of our donors. So I'll be mentioning some throughout the day. So if you don't hear your name, don't worry, it's coming. But if we can give a big shout out to
Congressman Jimmy Panetta.
and also Katie Taylor, fitness trainer.
I kind of need a fitness trainer, actually. No lie. 2018 goals.
The Animal Cancer Center.
Supervisor Mary Adams. Mary Adams, where you at? Okay, all right, I see you.
The Boots Red Group. I actually know that too.
Where's Planned Parenthood at? Planned Parenthood in the house? I like Planned Parenthood.
Supervisor Robert Rivas.
Yes.
Assembly member Ana Caballero.
All right. I hope you guys also are going to our honor truck on over there. They have water and croissants and other things that are healthy. Sort of.
But super yummy, right? And then also, please don't forget to donate. This is the beginning of something big. Well, the continuation, actually. We started in March last year. This is the second year. And we're going to push for people to vote. Not just register, but vote. But if you cannot vote, again, get your friends to vote. We are all women and we are strong. So when I said we are all women, you guys are going, and ladies are going to say, and we are strong.
Yes. Okay. We are all women and we are strong. We are all women and we are strong.
We are all women and we are strong. Woo! I love it. All right. I think it's time to do a little
wait. If you're a feminist, I need to hear a whoop whoop.
A little louder than that.
Women's March. Are you a feminist? Yeah. Yes. We believe in the equality of all people. Am I right? Yeah. But I do believe women do it better.
All right. And if you're a woman and you are proud, say whoop whoop. Whoop whoop. I didn't hear you. Whoop whoop. I love it. And to all the gentlemen here, whoop whoop. Thanks for joining us.
All right now, the single ladies. All the single ladies. I hope you guys checked out the tables. There are awesome people here, and they're willing to talk. I went around to the tables. I got some free stuff, some free candy, some free wristbands. I believe in free. I'm a college student, so just saying.
And by the way, I love all the posters that I saw. I was lucky enough to take some pictures with some of you. If I have not yet taken a picture with you, with or without poster, come get close to me. Let's take a picture. I love pictures. So don't forget, make sure to
hashtag safety, hashtag equality, hashtag
together we rise.
Together we rise.
And hashtag respect. So
RESPECT. I give it to you, you give it to me.
Woo! I didn't even know that one. I like that one. It was like, ooh, I read to start it. So, again, we welcome all of you. So if you are a woman of color, say woo woo, woo woo. If you are a woman of color, say woo woo, woo woo. If you are a white woman, say woo woo, woo woo. Say woo woo. Yes. Okay. Woo woo. For y'all. If you are a woman or a trans woman, or if you identify female, say woo woo, woo woo. I love it. I love it. And I think DJ Jose has been doing an amazing job, so if you can say hello to everyone.
Hi, DJ. Hey, Mr. DJ.
So how many of you had the opportunity to say hi to a new person? Raise your hand.
Did you meet a friend today?
New friends? No, okay. Oh, I love this corner. All right, how about this corner? Did we make new friends? All right, maybe, okay, it's okay.
High five each other. High five.
I don't know, Amber. I think people are ready to dance.
Oh yeah, so guess what? Guess what? Guess what?
What?
Guess what?
What?
The highway's backed up.
And it's okay. You know why? Because we're women and we make it happen.
Yes. Because together we rise. We will start in a little bit, so don't worry. Don't get antsy. We will be marching soon. And so, I just want to be her. She's just amazing. Mrs. Helen Record is a retired teacher and has been active and engaged in the Monterey Peninsula for over 50 years. Again, over 50 years, having served over the years in Monterey Peninsula School Board Trustee and then Seaside City Council. She is at all events, all community events. She has been there. And I just want to say, oh yeah, I just want to say you're such a beautiful person. I was inspired to be like you. I'm going to give you a hug now.
It's wonderful to have you. So please help me give her some love. Let's show some love. So I love all the signs, and we are all strong, somos fuertes, and this woman is too. So please, please give her all your attention. We are beyond grateful to have her today.
I want to give a shout out to all of you for coming here today. I am honored totally by this recognition. I don't know what I've done to deserve it, but I want to tell you I am definitely honored. I want you to know that I have lived my life so that other people will emulate what I do. I don't just do it for me. I do what I do even at 85 years old. I go to my office every day and I am registering people to vote. I go to the high schools and I talk to the young people. If they're not yet eligible to vote, they will be when they're 18, but they can pre-register when they're 16 and 17. And we want them to be ready. I want all of you people, and I want particularly the older people to hear me say, I want you to tell your story. I have been to StoryCorps in San Francisco, and I let them record my story because I want everybody to know whose shoulders they stand on. All of us stand on somebody's shoulder. And the only way we will know if young people are emulating us is if you tell your story. And you don't have to be an old person to tell your story. You can be a young person. Everybody has a story. And we don't want you to just come out here tonight and march, today and march. I want you to do something after the march. It is very important that all of us not let it end here. This is a beginning, not an end. We want people to be engaged. We want people willing to get involved. We want people to talk, not only to talk about it, we want people to have action. I want to tell you a little bit about me. I come from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I lived in the segregated South for most of my life, and my efforts have been civil rights, and it included the rights of all people to be free from discrimination, to be free as I wasn't as a child. You know, I love to read, and I couldn't go in the public library. You know, those people were so mean when the law was changed and they said they had to let people use black people use the library. They took all the tables and chairs out. So we could go in and check out books, but we couldn't sit down and do research. And I want everybody to have the same rights. And I'm talking about everybody, gay, lesbian, black, white, Jewish, Asian, you name it. I want everybody to have rights. And I want my life to be an example that you set. It was my privilege that my community elected me 4 times. And I'm still wondering what I did to deserve such honors. But as I walked those streets and talked to people about what my agenda was, and I served, before I was elected to the city council, I served on Seaside's Human Relations Commission. And the other night, I went to the city council and I said, I want you to follow the example of the Monterey County Board, where they reinvigorated their civil rights policies, and they now have, instead of an equal opportunity office, they now have a civil rights office. And this is what we want everybody in all of the cities to reinvigorate their civil rights policies and go after people who are discriminating in any way. So I'm pleased. I want to make a shout out particularly to all the men who are supporting us today. Thank you for coming. And I want you to know that although I've been in the civil rights movement all my life, this is my first Women's March. And I want all people who look like me to be here next year. I want us to do things to get all colors of people and all classes of people to participate in these kinds of civil rights rallies. So thank you very much, and on to the march!
Thank you, such beautiful words.
Okay, let's get the march started.
And with that, please keep in mind there are children, women, elderly, and younger folks around. Make sure you keep everything safe, no pushing, walk safe, and
Please follow Monty. Monty is here. Woo! So, hi Monty. This is Monty. The march is 2 miles. The march is 2 miles. If you do not want to march, feel free to stay here and dance and party.
have fun, speak your
Love you, Wes. Hey, love you too, Tyler. Let you kids go all the time. Nice. What are you drinking? Yes, for women! Let's get Go women!
Take back our country! Take back our country! Wes is always everywhere!
The better to see you with, my dear. And keeping me warm. Stay women strong! Right on. We're trying. Stay women strong. Pretty good flow. Oh. There's the powerhouse. Keeps coming, look at that. Puppy power! Planned Parenthood, yes! Nice. Woo. There it is. Yes, matriarchy, absolutely. Very well. House politicians, vote for sex. Love it. I like your shaker.
Thank you.
And a hat, right?
Let's.
let's hit him with one of ours.
Say resist. Resist. Resist.
Love it. Love enjoying life.
This land is our land. Hi, Wes.
Hello. Ooh, I love that umbrella.
Hey, Wes, 2 days in a row.
Yes, ma'am. Gotta keep at it. Let's stay women strong. It's a good turnout. And it keeps going. It's not done yet. So good.
My friend her coffee.
Good idea. See ya. Of course. Stay women strong.
Allison. I'm good. How are you?
Long time no see.
Well, since the last time. Yeah, but I heard very good. So like that. I
Show me what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like.
All right, I gotta walk.
Show me what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like.
Of course. Nice. Hello, look at it. So many good looking faces. I love it.
How are you?
I'm a human doing.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Take care.
One. How you doing? How's it going? Nice. Keep resisting. Oh yeah, always. Stay strong in the struggle. Wow. That is an awful lot of people.
Oh, it's not as many as last year, but it's a lot.
You think?
Oh yeah, last year.
Oh, I don't. Hey, I guess you gotta ask CSU and B-Cops that question. Hey! How are you? Hanging in there. Good, good. I see ya. There you are.
How are ya?
Pretty good. Looks like you lost the rest of your set. Trying. A banner that fits. It's because they got a half size.
Cheetos! We want Cheetos! Not the Cheetos! We want Cheetos! United! Never be defeated! People! United! We'll never be defeated! The people! United! We'll never be defeated!
We might even watch it. Would you like that option?
Yes, I want to take it off.
With a glass of...
Yeah.
If they want to.
We haven't set up any. We set up about
I'm trying to.
Next weekend, we started building. This is the key spot for recognition. I just said hello to Wes, and then I say, you know what? This is like pretty awesome. Everybody sees
everyone's
this.
going on either side of you.
Yeah, no, we went over there and checked it out. Oh, really?
And you could do that if you had it.
Without people.
You need anything.
Especially not heavy.
Oh, very well. That's our bed. Like a half a cup of liver and everything they need to the vitamins in a day.
I'm going to be the next one.
Oh no, this is one from SEIU. She was holding a sign that said, raise your voice for Christ's sake. But that walked off with, she wants her sign back because everyone's taking
I know where it is.
Yeah, well, he's going to leave the car the first one.
What's your position?
Yeah, but you were talking.
I think we're going to be only
In the morning or the afternoon?
Sunday, Monday night.
Thank you again.
Oh yeah.
I saw your husband made it.
There you go.
Not so black. Right?
I can see. I can.
Wow, it's still going.
I'll send you the
much for your performance. It was wonderful. Thank you. We are very lucky to have you today. So another big shout out for them. Let's show some love. Really quick, I just want to say thank you again for marching with us. It's been amazing. We still have a few more performances to go, but I wanted to give a quick shout out to our DJ Jose Marin. He's been doing an amazing job. And for those of you who weren't able to march, it's okay. I know you were there in spirit. You can join me, even if you were at the march, in giving Stephanie Mistretta a big round of applause for her performance. Woo! She did an amazing job too, so thank you for doing that.
Shout out to the moms too. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everyone who's still here. Now we have a beautiful performance from Eliza and Tara. Thank you. So Tara on the harp, 10th grader. Whoop whoop. Santa Catalina and Eliza, 8th grader from San Carlos School. You are so brave. Thank you. Take it over.
Thank you. They're amazing artists, so give them all your attention.
You can be amazing, you can turn a phrase into a weapon overdrive. You can be the outcast, or be the backlash, or somebody's lack of love. Or you can start speaking out. Nothing's gonna hurt you the way the words do when they settle beneath your skin. Kept on the inside with no sunlight, sometimes the shadow opens. But I wonder what could happen if you say what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave with what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. Just wanna see you be brave. Just wanna see you. I just wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave. I wanna see you. I wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave. Everybody's been there, everybody's been teared down by the enemy, falling for the fear and undone disappearing, bow down to the mighty. Don't run, stop holding your tongue. Maybe there's a way out of the cage where you live. Maybe one of these days you could let the light in. Show me how big your brave is. Say what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave with what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. I wanna see you. I just wanna see you. I just wanna see you be brave. I wanna see you be
Helen, thank you so much. That was beautiful. I wish I could sing like that.
Play like that. Those chords.
Beautiful. Give them another round of applause. All right, y'all. Next we have Mickey Welsh, a longtime activist in the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU for short, and is also another Northern California board on the ACLU, a local lawyer and a professor of constitutional law at Monterey College Law. Let's give them a round of applause.
This is a historic day. And here's what I want to say to you this day. We too are bending the arc of history. When I was asked to say a few words about history, the first thing I thought of was that prophetic and hopeful observation by Dr. Martin Luther King when he said, "The arc of history is long, but it bends toward justice." Today is our day in history. The Me Too movement has started something that won't end. Women have found their voices. Women have come out of isolation and told our stories, even at the risk of losing status and losing jobs. And the most amazing part, women are being believed. Powerful people are being removed from office and held accountable for their conduct based on a woman's statements of truth. This is new, it shouldn't be, but it is. The Me Too movement has contributed across the country to this march today. We are marching with people in this state, in the country, and in the world. So today, the Me Too movement has become the We Too movement. And I say, we too are bending the arc of history today toward justice. Our history is indeed long. Our founding fathers promised that under the law, all men are created equal. Unfortunately, that's what they meant. And not even all men, but only men, and no women. But they were warned. Did you know that in 1776, Abigail Adams wrote to her husband as he was going off to sign the Declaration of Independence, "Remember the ladies and be more generous and favorable to them than your ancestors." Then she went on to warn him, "If particular care and attention is not paid to the ladies, we are determined to foment rebellion, and we will not hold ourselves bound by any laws which we have no voice and no representation." Wow. Fighting words from Abigail in 1776. What if she, and not John, had been there to sign the Declaration of Independence? Well, the arc of history bent a little more at the first Women's Rights Convention in Seneca Falls in 1848. There, Elizabeth Cady Stanton led a group of 68 women and 32 men to sign the Declaration of Sentiments. And it starts out, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal." And yet, even after the Civil War, and after the 14th and 15th Amendments were ratified in 1871, that guaranteed the rights to equal protection and the right to vote to all men, still women had no equal protection and no right to vote. So in 1872, the next year, Susan B. Anthony and 14 brave women voted. And for doing that, they were arrested, they were convicted, and they were fined. Nevertheless, they persisted. Susan B. Anthony, on her 86th birthday in 1906, declared, "Failure is impossible." And so it was. Finally, in 1920, 50 years after men got the vote, women secured the right to vote for their representatives in government. So, are you registered? Did you vote in the last election? Did you vote in every election since you came of age? All right. If anybody out here is not registered, or even if you're not sure, register today before you leave here, without fail. Voting is not only your right, though that is enough, it is also your obligation to this country and our future to vote for the powers that govern us and to hold them accountable. So I ask you, have the courts done any better for women throughout history? I'm telling you that until 1971, that is 1971, there was not a single case from the U.S. Supreme Court finding a violation of equal protection based on gender. Back in 1871, in a case where a woman had finished law school, but she lived in a state that didn't allow women to practice law at all. So she sued, but she lost. The court upheld that state law, saying, "It is a woman's destiny to be the benign and office of wife and mother." Nothing wrong with that, but in other words, a woman's place is in the house, to which we add, and in the Senate. So don't just vote this year, run. Run for office. Get the votes, and we will help you. Finally, in 1971, the Supreme Court found that discrimination against a woman was unconstitutional under the Equal Protection Clause. But even so, a lesser standard was applied than the strict scrutiny that the court gives to race discrimination or national origin discrimination. And I'm telling you that without the Equal Rights Amendment, women will not be truly equal under the law. We need the Equal Rights Amendment, and we need it now. And remember, it was not until 1973 that women gained the right to control our own bodies and our own reproductive choices in the famous landmark case of Roe versus Wade, which remains under attack to this day. So maybe the legislative branch has done a little better? Well, Congress did pass the Civil Rights Act in 1964, prohibiting discrimination on the basis of sex. Remember that? Do you know how sex got in there? An opponent, who is a representative and a Republican, added sex to the list of race, national origin, and religion in order to defeat the bill. But it passed. So we have sex discrimination prohibited in 1964 for the first time, but it still took 3 decades of court cases to establish that sexual harassment is a form of sex discrimination. And even now, we have those who engage in inappropriate behavior at work asserting their First Amendment right of free speech to do that to women. This must stop. This is why I now see the Me Too movement has shifted our culture. It has shifted it in a way that women are believed, men are being held accountable in the workplace and elsewhere. And thanks to Anita Hill, who brought these issues to the fore when she testified against Clarence Thomas in 1991, women are now being believed. This movement is historic. The Me Too movement is no coincidence. It is a culmination. It is a culmination of decades, not decades, centuries of work to empower women to obtain the vote and to take control of our lives and participate in our government. Together, we rise. That's the slogan for today. We too rise today and bend the arc of history toward justice, toward equality, toward dignity, toward safety. And we stand on the history of all that have gone before us. And we bend the arc toward justice for all who will come after us to claim their place in the world. Today we are grateful. We are grateful for our history, but let us commit ourselves to earn the gratitude of generations to come for the history of justice we now bend toward them. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Wow. My heart keeps going. Yes, yes. So, oh, go ahead. I was going to say thank you. Give her one more round of applause. One more. Well, and I saw some tears, so that's good. It means he hit the heart. She hit the heart. That's great. So, next, I have the big pleasure to introduce a local hero. I personally have the privilege to know her since I was 18. I am 25 now. And I have to tell you, this woman does everything in her power to make sure that the young people, that the people in our community have different opportunities to uplift themselves and others. And so, I know, who is it, right? And so, I want everyone to give her a big round of applause. She has done so much in our community and continues to do so. She started at a young age doing so much work, and now she's the vice president of advancement at Hartnell College. She is a true local hero. So please welcome me, enjoy, and give a big round of applause to Jackie Cruz. Woo!
What a great honor, and I am just so blessed and so humbled. My heart is filled with humility and joy. This is fantastic. Go women, go people. Let's do this. My name is Jackie Cruz. This is Kylie. So I am going to read this because this is difficult. I have never shared this publicly. I shared this in a trial many years ago, and that was it. I didn't share it after that. So I want to thank the organizers of the Women's March, and I also want to recognize the courageous founder of the Me Too movement, Tarana Burke, for her selfless vision and for her relentless determination to eradicate sexual violence. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my story with you. As a young girl, I grew up surrounded by dozens of men, sometimes 20, sometimes 25, sometimes more. All lived in a very small home. They were strangers. Some were kind and caring. Others were waiting for the right time to prey on one of the little kids in the house. I was very blessed that a neighbor heard my screams one day as I tried to fight off a man that attempted to rape me when I was 9 years old. As an adult, I was not so lucky. And after I decided to end an abusive relationship, my ex-partner broke into my house and for 2 hours hit me, tortured me, and sexually assaulted me. As I ran outside to ask for help, I was fortunate that a neighbor finally called the police. when the police arrived, he told me not to say anything, that I had everything to lose. Going through trial was one of the most painful life experiences. Speaking up and telling my story was very, very hard. The memory, and this is probably the most difficult part, the memory of my mother telling me that I needed to be a stronger woman and not say anything was the most difficult thing to deal with. That it was normal to go through that she had been through it, and so that I was just not strong for coming forward. The shame of having gone through this experience and the accusations and judgment from her made this the most painful process I've ever lived through. Fortunately, I had 3 women who stood by me and showed up to court and supported me when my family didn't. Many of you know these people: Betsy Pearson, Mary Adams, and also after that, Ana Caballero was a huge support for me. So thank you. I also had the unwavering support of my son, who was 9 years old at that time, and he gave me courage. So today my appeal to you is to be the support for the women who are coming forward. Be the compassion and strength that they need. Lend your ear and your heart to those who haven't been able to break the silence and who for years have kept the secrets that continue to harm their current life. Mentor another woman, because your strength will carry them through. Thanks to the support of other amazing women, I have been inspired to help others. In 2011, a dear friend, her name is Valerie Schlauthauer, and myself, we co-founded the Women's Education and Leadership Institute at Hartnell College. The Institute has graduated over 175 women. 88% of them have received at least 1 college degree or more. The ratio is almost 3 degrees per member. And I'm so proud of them. Over $250,000 in scholarships have been awarded through the Institute. Part of the curriculum includes the love of self, the power within, and a powerful mentorship, among other vital skills. We believe that the investment in women and in their education and leadership is the best way to impact our families and our communities. Please get involved and pass on your power. I want to say, I want to support my story more personal, but without the legislative power, the individual hurt will continue. So that legislative power has to come through. We have got to take offices. We have got to be in office. And with this speech, I want to put an end to the pain that I felt for these years, and I want to express these words: Me too, no more. Thank you.
Miss Jackie Cruz another round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being such a strong individual, a survivor, and a leader. Next, we would like to introduce Miss Becca Rubin, originally from Denmark. Meta is now a student in the Master of Social Work program here at CSUNB. She's very humbled, so make sure to give her a big round of applause. Woo!
Hey Jackie, that was
I am woman, hear me roll in the first too big to ignore. And I know
Hey Jackie, it's a little tough coming after you. That was really brave and really raw what you shared right now. It was being shamed by your own mother to stay silent. That's just, yeah. I'm glad you overcame that and are now a voice for women's empowerment. So thank you, Jackie. I'm going to talk a little bit about money. I read this sentence somewhere. We're a culture so habituated to misogyny that we can't even fathom parity. Economic parity, equal pay for equal work, is somehow still a hot topic. There is a large gender pay gap between men and women. That's easy to see. We've all heard the numbers. White women earn about 79 cents on the dollar compared to white men. That number is 63 cents on the dollar for African American women compared to white men, and Latinas earn 54 cents for every dollar white men earn. This gender pay gap increases dramatically with age, and it increases if you're a woman with a disability. Many of the women most affected by this do not have a voice. They do not have the economic and existential security needed to speak up about the injustice that robs them of that very security. This is why it's crucial for those of us who can to speak up. We've heard high-earning blockbuster movie stars speak up recently about economic inequality and the underlying culture. I'd like to quote the actress Jennifer Lawrence. She said, "I'm over trying to find the adorable way to state my opinion and still be likable. I don't think I've ever worked for a man in charge who spent time contemplating what angle he should use to have his voice heard. It's just heard." Does that sound familiar? People who argue that the gender pay gap can be explained by differences in choices made and in a lack of a woman's willingness to negotiate pay are ignoring the fundamental sexism that is ingrained not just in men but in women too, that we have to first and foremost be likable. Here in Monterey County, women are the working poor. Women, and especially Latinas, are disproportionately represented in low-paying jobs here, such as caregiving and service fields. The thing is, even within such occupations, there is a substantial pay gap. Among housekeepers, females working full-time make 86% of what male housekeepers make working full-time. We'll hear that the gender pay gap exists because we choose to have kids. And we just have to accept that this will affect our careers and our ability to secure ourselves and our families financially. What? Kids are a crucial part of the community and the future of our communities, and it is the responsibility of the community to make having kids doable for those having the kids. And by the way, for women, becoming a parent it typically hurts both earnings, benefits, and retirement options. Employers are less likely to hire mothers compared with child-free women, and when employers do make an offer to a mother, they offer her a lower salary than they do other women. Fathers, in contrast, do not suffer a penalty compared to other working men. Many fathers actually receive higher wages after having children. What's that about, you might ask? There is a bias against women, both conscious and unconscious. It's about the attitudes and assumptions of and about women in the workplace. It's because there is still a belief that women will accept less pay than men. They don't know their worth and aren't as good at negotiating. There is a cultural assumption that for women, being liked is more important than being heard. So today and every day, let's try harder to listen for the voices of those who may not feel they can afford to have one. Let's encourage those Jackie Cruzes who have not yet found their voice to come forward. And with that, thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Greta. How are we feeling? Do we feel empowered? Yes? Say yes at 3. 1, 2, 3. Do you feel empowered? Yes. Sorry, I got carried away.
Thank you all. Just remember, vote, 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 and know your words. That's what I summed up. Know your words.
We're okay.
We have Miss Regina Mason, who is a co-founder of the Village Project Incorporated, a nonprofit agency based in Seaside, providing culturally congruent services to the underserved communities of Monterey County. She also serves as president of the Monterey County branch of the NAACP.
Please join us and give a big round of applause.
Thank you.
Woo!
until the killing of black men, black mother sons is as important as the killing of white men, white mother sons. We who believe in freedom.
Leon Russell, Board Chair for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Derek Johnson, our President and CEO. Alice Huffman, our California-Hawaii State Conference President and the Monterey County Branch NAACP. I bring you greetings on this afternoon. I'd like to thank the organizers of this wonderful Women's March for having me here as your keynote speaker. I would like to bring you a word to begin with from Maya Angelou. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may tread me in the very dirt, but still like dust I rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why you beset me with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns with certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still like air I rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, up from the past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into the daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. The late, great Ella Baker said these words: until the killing of black men, black mothers' sons, becomes as important to the rest of the country as the killing of a white mother's son, we who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Ella said, oppressed people, whatever their level of formal education, have the ability to understand and interpret the world around them, to see the world for what it is, and to move to transform it. She said, remember, we are not fighting for the freedom of the Negro alone, but for the freedom of the human spirit, a larger freedom that encompasses all mankind. As women, we have so much in common that to deny it would be futile. We are one and the same, we women, and neither race, nor economics, nor zip code, nor religion, and especially not politics, can change that fact. You need only to look back at our history to understand the dynamic relationship that we have as women. And although it has never been an easy road, It has been a road in which we've traveled together. During Harriet Tubman's escape from the plantation with countless men, women, and children, it was white women and men that hid the slaves on their way to Canaan land. This happened at the expense of their own lives. These individuals lived by the courage of their convictions. We must not forget that when one woman suffers, we all suffer, because it all comes back around in the same way, shape, or form. For example, when we fail to raise our voices in the chorus of a woman's right to choose, then a woman's right to choose is no longer her right. When we fail to listen to a young woman's audible no, then the end result is life-altering. When we turn a blind eye to a woman's job promotion dangled in front of her with strings attached, then we enforce the strength of the glass ceiling. But thanks to the new movements such as Me Too, Time's Up, and more, and many more, strings have been and are being in the process of being severed. I have often asked myself the question, where were support groups when Anita Hill was left to do battle against a male-dominated Congress, the President of the United States, and a now sitting Supreme Court Justice? No one yelled "Me Too" or shouted "Time's Up" or even gave her the benefit of the doubt. In fact, many questioned her credibility, while others questioned her mental stability. Unfortunately, it's taken 28 years for the rest of us to realize that perhaps Professor Hill was telling the truth after all. As an outpouring of text messages and social media postings thanking her for her courage would suggest. We now know that Professor Hill was more than likely telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. But we did not have social media like we have now. Social media is the driver for the Me Too and Time's Up movements, and continues to present us with a form of instant shaming that works as a truth serum of sorts. This serum can catch fire in an instant and bring a perpetrator to his knees within days, if not hours. Whether instant shaming proves to be a tool for good or for ill remains to be seen. But for now, it is proving to be the great equalizer for women who have been sexually harassed, abused, or outright attacked in the workforce. One can only assume that the hands of women have been strengthened for now. Women have always locked arms in times of rebellion. Be it the women of the abolitionist movement who fought vehemently to end slavery, or the courageous women who fought for the right to vote, and the little-known herons such as Mary White Ovington, along with W.E.B. Du Bois, Ida Wells, and Moorfield Story, founders of the NAACP in 1909. Yes, this very body that I stand before you representing, that was founded by whites and blacks, women and men, social workers. Mary Ovington was a white American female suffragist who was dedicated to the cause of ending inequality, poverty, discrimination, mobilizing those around her to act in the face of injustice when women had very few rights than we have now. Inequality, poverty, discrimination, and mobilization are very much the subject that I'd like to speak to you about this afternoon. It truly pains me when we remain stuck in the challenges of yesterday today. That we have not evolved enough as a people to completely eliminate such scourges on our society once and for all, to rid our society and communities of sexism, racism, income inequality, and all other forms of discrimination and oppression. As women, we must challenge ourselves in ways that we never have before, in ways that we've never dreamed necessary before. But necessity is now upon us. It is no longer toying around the edges of our consciousness, but is biting at the very soul of who we are as individuals, as a community, and as a nation. Necessity is demanding that we all stand up and take part, that we not only use our voices loudly and clearly, but that we combined our collective roar with the might of our vote, of our spending power, our intellect, our compassion, and with our common experiences. In Alabama, 98% of the black female vote and 92% of the black male vote, along with conscientious whites and others, that help to keep a white supremacist and child molester from going to the United States Senate. To perpetuate number 45's racist policies. Hillary Clinton may not have won the presidency, but she was unquestionably right when she said that we are stronger together. But we have to go a step further and turn that idea into our guiding philosophy and thus into action, into mobilization, into results. If we can strengthen our resolve around this philosophy, then formidable will be an understatement when considering what women bring to the table of change. It is within this spirit that I call upon each of you to be the gatekeepers of all that is good in our country, of all that we've worked so hard to achieve, and of all that we have yet to achieve. For if we stop now, look at where we'd be, divided by bitter politics, arming ourselves for class warfare, widening the gap between the races, tossing one group out of the country in favor of another, demeaning our friends and allies, undermining our body of government, and searching night after night for words to explain right from wrong to our children. But we're not going to stop. I'm not, and I'm certain you're not, because I have a sneaky suspicion that if you were considering throwing in the towel, you wouldn't be here right now. So what can we do? How can we affect positive, everlasting change? It's simple. We fight with clarity of purpose, and we fight together. We fight against poverty by working aggressively to ensure that all children get a great education, starting from day one. We fight against cutting funds from the education budget. We fight against unqualified teachers in the classroom. We fight against dilapidated schools. We fight against the school-to-prison pipeline. And we fight against labeling students of color academically inferior, especially black and brown boys. It is no secret that the cure to poverty is education. What do we fight for? We fight for children, for parents, for caregivers, adult families, for educators, and for our communities. We help to ensure that hard-working families earning little more than minimum wage receive the culturally congruent services they need, not only to keep their needs above water, but to move them up the economic ladder and therefore improve the lives of the next generations in their families. We fight to ensure that people of our community are not looked at as a statistical number, but as a human being with individual needs that must be understood in order to offer appropriate services. We fight for an end to discrimination and racism by aggressively stamping it out every time it rears its ugly head, whether in front of a Confederate statue or a torch lit by a neo-Nazi or in the Oval Office of the White House. We must challenge those who choose to uphold the status quo. When the status quo serves to maintain oppression and disenfranchise groups of people labeled others. As mentioned above, women are stronger together. You need only look back at the footage of newsreels from the civil rights movement of the 1960s, where African American women, white women, and our Jewish American sisters walked side by side, and African American men and their brothers of all nationalities locked arms of resistance and marched for justice. So make no mistake about it, there have always been people from all ethnicities standing with the African American community, and we have a long history of supporting one another in our common struggle for civil rights. People of African ancestry who have been endlessly discriminated against. Our bonds with others are strong and deep. And the names Michael Schwerner, Andrew Goodman, and James Chaney, 3 young men, 2 Jewish and 1 black, should never escape our memories as they lost their lives in the most heinous of ways for the simple act of helping people register to vote in Mississippi. At this point, the question becomes, how do we mobilize people of all races and of all backgrounds to get involved, to give of themselves? One way is to look at the grassroots effort that got Doug Jones from the state of Alabama elected to the Senate. One of the criticisms of the African American community was that if Barack Obama was not on the ballot, they would not come out to vote. Well, that myth was dispelled as African Americans came out in large numbers and were largely credited with giving Jones the victory. But organizations like the NAACP worked early and often to get the word out to those communities and had hundreds of volunteers canvass the streets to make sure people were registered and knew exactly when and where to vote. The NAACP and other groups also found innovative ways to get past the many barriers put up to encourage voter suppression. Barriers such as conservative radio stations giving the wrong date for the election, polling places shut down due to mysterious violations and rumors that people would be deported if they didn't have documentation to prove they were legal citizens. Yet, perhaps one of the most galvanizing strategies for getting people to get out to vote was helping voters understand
that they were important stakeholders in the election. That if Moore won, they had a great